Hi, this is Dave with Truck Talk, sponsored by C&H Auto Accessories in Margate, Florida. Today, we want to talk to you about the differences in lift kits, body lift, suspension lift, and what would work best for you.
I'm Chris with C&H Auto Accessories and also president of South Florida Truck Club. And we both have our pros and cons of what we like to lift our trucks. You know, I kind of prefer the suspension lifts, but I know a lot of people like the body lifts. And some body lifts are very nice and some are not so much. So let's kind of go into the details of the differences between body lifts and suspension lifts. Now, Dave, tell me what your opinion of body lifts are, pros and cons.
Pros, if you have an older truck, that 86 Chevy that's sitting out back and you really want to do something to it, a body lift might be the way to go. It can be a little bit more cost effective. It gives you enough space to run a little bigger tire, but it's really not going to help the performance of the vehicle. It's just going to give you a look. Where suspension lift is going to do both. It's going to give you the look, and it's going to give you that performance that you're after. So when you put on that nice new set of wheels and tires, you're going to get the best out of everything that you're spending.
Now, let me ask you, if you're doing some off-roading, what do you think is better, the body lift or the suspension lift?
For off-roading, 100%, a suspension lift is going to be the better way to go. It's going to keep your geometry correct. It's going to have the parts that you need. You're not just lifting the body and using stock factory components. Stock factory components are fine for stock factory driving. If you're in some mud, if you're getting some air, whatever you're doing with that truck, that's not what the factory engineer said, this is what they're going to do. They kind of think of that, but not really. So that's why you see a lot of cast suspension pieces versus a forged or a welded piece. You're going to see some difference in quality, definitely.
Now, I know a lot of customers, the first reason why they want to go with the body lift is because they believe it will save them money. Is that true?
Not all the time. And I was just doing some looking, and we're going to take that same 86 Chevy with four-wheel drive. A body lift is going to be about $200 retail depending on brand. Now you got install. Install is going to be a lot more money because of what is entailed in putting on a body lift. Also, you're going to start seeing gaps and see stuff that you don't want to see, so they sell a gap kit. So for that is another $200. So I have you at $400 without install just for parts. Versus suspension lift. I just looked it up. A super lift, 4-inch suspension lift. Guess what? It's $400, and you're going to get that performance. And you can do some upgrades if you want to change your shocks over to a better premium shock. It's available. If you want, if your truck has some miles, I always ask people, how many miles are on your truck, Chris? If you tell me 80 to 100,000 miles, I'm obviously really going to recommend a suspension lift because we're going to get some new components in there, new bushings, new shocks, and that's going to give you that better than factory ride that you used to have, whereas a body lift won't give you that because we're not touching that.
So basically, it's not really saving you money, and it's not really helping you off-road. I mean, of course, now, if you were talking about the older trucks, now, tell me a good reason why, if I come in here with something that's 1 or 2 years old, why you do not recommend a body lift with the newer trucks. Why is that?
So, with the newer trucks, you have a lot of harnesses. There's a ton of computers in these trucks. There's a computer for everything. They all have harnesses. Those harnesses are made at a certain length. If I start stretching those harnesses, you could end up with problems. Then you're going to come back and say, Dave, my harness isn't working. This light isn't working. The tailgate isn't working. And then we're going to find out that the harness pulled a wire or something. No matter how careful we are, you take it off-road, pull that wire out, guess what? Now your backup lights don't work, or your fancy backup camera or something doesn't work, and we got to spend the time hunting down, figuring it out. Whereas if you do a suspension lift and it's done right, aligned, it's going to give you that factory ride, but give you that capability to go off-road and get some air and really use that truck the way you want to see it built up.
Okay, so we talked about some pros and cons and stuff. I'll tell you what my personal con that I don't like about body lifts is I just don't like the look. The whole idea is your body, the outside of the truck is covering a lot of things you don't want to see. When you go in and start lifting that up, guess what? You're now seeing everything you really shouldn't see. Your frame is there, and it's generally not really good looking. Where if you go with a suspension lift, that all stays hidden. And I just think it's a better look. I know for you it's more about function over looks. For me, I just don't like the way it looks. Even though we have people in our own club who've done some body lifts, and it actually looks okay. If I have an opportunity, I usually recommend when we talk to our customers, suspension lift. Really, I think that's the way to go. Again, years ago, and you can go with a body lift and it look nice. I do suspension lifts, and of course, talking about suspension lifts, as you know, you can do a leveling kit, which is just lifting the front. You can do a 3 or 4 inch lift. You can do a 6. You can go, even higher depending on what you want to do. Now, what do you recommend to that customer who comes in here for the first time and says, "I want to lift my truck"? What do you recommend? I mean, they come in here. What's the questions you usually ask them?
My first question, any customer that comes in here, is what do you want to do with the truck? Because there's a lift kit for everybody. Some guys want a lift kit that's just going to look good, and they're not going to take their truck off-road, or they're just going to go across a grass field, but they want to put a bigger set of wheels and tires on there. They want their truck to have that presence, so if they go to a car show, if they go tailgating, everybody says, "Woo, look at that truck." Which is completely different than the guy that comes in here and says, "Chris, I want to take my truck and I want to get it buried. I want to play in some mud and some rocks, and I want to do that." So first we need to figure out what you want to do with your truck. Then we can go from there. Because there's a different recommendation for every truck, and there's some brands that work better, so some just have better quality, some are a little bit more cost effective. And I'm not saying any brand is bad, but you can go all the way from Rough Country, who's actually improved and makes some pretty good products nowadays, and you can get into BDS, and there's even some custom lift companies that we can work with if there's something you want, say like a bulletproof suspension. Bulletproof suspension can get up there to $8,000-9,000, but you are paying for that premium. There's a very premium custom design. Or you have the guy that wants $1,500, get a nice lift kit, and it's going to ride good, and it's going to do everything he wants it to do. So it really comes down to, you have to tell us what you want your truck to do, and we can help you make that decision correctly, so you're not in a year going, "Oh man, why didn't I get that one?" or "Why didn't I get that?"
I know when I talk to our customers and stuff, and they start talking about their trucks and how much they're going to lift them, I ask them, "What do you use your truck for?" Now, and this is real important. If you got someone who's just using it, like I said, just going to show off in shows and stuff, or you got someone who uses the truck for work. Now, like for example, I don't have a very large lift in my truck because I go camping. I use the back of the bed for all kinds of stuff, and if I lift it too high, it's just too difficult for me to get my stuff out of the back of the truck. That's one of my main reasons with it. Now, like for example, we had one of our truck club members, Jason, and he's got a wonderful lift, but he discovered he was having a hard time getting into the bed, and because this lift is so high. And of course, we fixed it by putting a little bed slide, pulls everything out, and now he didn't have to worry about that. You also have to take into account what type of cover you have on there. And it's funny, we did a video recently about lifted trucks and the right type of cover. Now, if you have a folding cover and you lift it 6 inches or more, it becomes a little more difficult to fold that cover. Like I get customers come in and say, "Well, what cover?" I go, "You gonna lift it?" If they're gonna lift it, I might show them a nice cover with a strap. Truck Covers USA, Roll and Lock, Pace Edwards, something that they can sit at the tailgate and pull it closed, because once you lift it high, it's difficult to open that cover. So there's a lot of questions that we ask the customers. What are you doing with your truck? How are you going to do it? Like I said, are you going to be doing just taking it to truck shows? Are you planning to really take it off road and beat the heck out of it? We're going to cater everything. We're going to tell it to you what you're using your truck for, because what you want for your truck might be totally different for the next guy. And that's real important. And of course, with Dave and myself, we're going to find what fits you the best. And of course, we work with everyone's budget, because you might not be able to afford to do everything at once. The one thing I do want to emphasize is make sure when you do these lifts, kind of pick the one that's what you're kind of like the one you wish. Because if you start off with something a little too low, and we've seen it a lot of times, I got myself a 2.5 inch level, which is a nice little kit. But one thing comes about lifts are like tattoos. Sometimes you get a lift, and you're like, you want to keep going. You know, it's like, you know, I want to get a taller lift. I want, you know, and I've known people in the club, they've gone from 3 different lifts. You know, they went to 2.5 level, and then they went like a 3.5, and then they end up with a 6 or 7. And they've done that. And of course, by doing it that way, that is not friendly to your wallet. So if you can start off what you want in the beginning, they'll actually save you money. Even though at the time you're thinking you're saving money by getting that lift that's a little cheaper, but over the course of the years, you would save a lot more money by getting what you want. And remember, when anything you're doing for your truck, get what you want, even if it's a little bit more money, because if you look at the big picture, you're going to have this truck for a long time. Most people keep their trucks a lot longer than cars. I mean, my truck is 7 years old, and I love it just as much today. And I've done a lot to it, and I don't want to be honest with you, I don't want to get a new truck because I don't want to start over. But I'm doing what I like to it. So remember, do exactly what you want. And again, when you come in here to see Dave and myself, we're going to ask you the right question and find what fits your needs the best. And Dave, anything else you want to add?
Well, just taking your example, if you have somebody, and Chris has had his truck for a while, my recommendation to him coming in off the street, if he was a guy that really was new to this and looking, something like a 4-inch would be fine. But there's some companies out there that make options for upgrades. So that might be a better option for you.
Yeah.
Is, hey, if I get you this kit, it might cost you just a hair more right off the bat, but you know in a year or 2 years, you come back, see us, say, okay, I have my 4-inch lift. The kids are growing up; they can get in the truck just fine. I don't have to stand on a step bar to load them up and click them in car seats. I want to do that 6-inch upgrade. Well, there are companies out there that make upgrades. So then you're not buying the whole kit, but those companies are your premium companies. They're not your Amazon specials or your eBay marketplace. They're a premium, well-named company, Superlift, Skyjacker. Any of those guys, they have options for that. So if it's something where you have small kids, you might only want to do 4 inches now, but in 2 years now your kids can crawl in and out of the truck, and you're due for tires, and you want that big upgrade because you're keeping the truck, because a new truck is really expensive nowadays. Come see us. We can help you find that right lift kit for your needs at that time. And if you have upgrade options, we'll tell you about those upgrade options.
Well, I think this truck talk today is really informative for our guest, and I'm hoping that if you watch this video, and by the way, make sure you like the video and also subscribe to our page, because that lets us know that you like what we're doing, and we want to give you that information. So whatever you end up doing, it's going to help you in the long run, and that's real important, because again, you don't want to be doing 3 or 4 things that you're not happy with, and sometimes you go into place and you might get someone who's not really eager to help you with your needs.
I'd rather spend 30 minutes with you going over your options now than another hour after you're done and you're not happy.
Oh yeah.
So just come in and talk to us. We can show you what's available on the market, and we can get you something that's going to work for your budget, for your needs, whatever you have. We're here to help you guys, not just try to sell products.
Yes. Take care of you today. You'll come back tomorrow. Again, this is Chris, and this is Dave, and we're Truck Talk, sponsored by C&H Auto Accessories. Thank you, and have a great day.